Test, test. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this special Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. It is May 31st, 2024, and I would request that everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the board chair report, and this evening what I'm going to do is forego that to give all of the board members an opportunity. We're going to keep it to 3 minutes to speak about the budget and the process and what's taken place thus far. So, Dr. Young, I hate to put you on the spot, but we will start with you first.
Only
sir.
Because I can be brief.
Only because you can be brief?
I think so.
Excellent.
I would just like to say that I'm very disappointed in the process. That this has been unnecessary for the town. It's been unnecessary for us, and none of the ideas that I heard at the finance meeting are really going to change the budget significantly. So it just seemed like an empty process to me, and I don't know how to fix it, but I just assume it didn't happen again.
Okay, and are you speaking specifically about last night, or are there things about the Board of Ed budget process that you'd like to see changed?
No, I was pretty happy with the process up till the referendum vote. And,
okay.
And the subsequent situation.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just a reminder for people to try to speak into the microphone so people at home can hear you.
Thank you. Miriam?
Do we have anybody at home? Excuse me, I see no signal.
It's on, it's going.
It's going to YouTube. Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm going to be a little philosophical right now, and I'm going to ask, I was very disappointed in what happened last night, and so I'm going to urge the board members to remember that we are living and trying to work under the seeds of civility, which is caring for one's own identity, needs, and beliefs without degrading someone else's in the process. The town of Ellington and the Ellington Public Schools recognize that the value of civil discussion. I believe that the following tenets were not followed yesterday and in communications that went out earlier last week. I truly believe that it is because of a lack of communication that we are in this mess. But I hope that we remember to listen, observe, and reflect, to be careful and thoughtfully seeking to understand first and to act with honor. We are doing this face to face. I urge us to debate the issue and respect the person. We're all human trying to live a fulfilling life, and we will engage on issues and avoid personal criticisms. I'd like us all to try and remember to assume good intentions, because everyone here is working for the greater good, and to find similarities and value differences. If that doesn't happen, and I understand this is a hard thing to do, it's hard for all of us to do this, it's hard for me, I expect it will be hard for you. But if we don't do this and we don't treat one another with respect and understanding when the times get tough, then the seeds of civility are nothing but a paradigm, and we will be nothing but hypocrites. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Dr. Lenora Williams? Sorry, Dr. Williams.
Good evening. I am new to the board and new to this process of determining budget. I do agree with Miriam in that I think we need to keep personalities and keep things non-personal. We are here for the greater good of our learners in the Ellington school system. And I think that as we discuss these very difficult decisions, we need to be mindful of what our primary purpose is.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes, well, I'm just gonna speak my heart. I am not in favor of hidden agendas and being blindsided. I am disappointed in our fellow board members that participated in this miscarriage. I thought we were working together. We have to have trust in each other in this participation, in this process. I believe there are outside forces at work riling people up unnecessarily. I'm recommending that in the future, when we have a vote such as a budget or administrative hire, we should have a roll call vote, so it's documented what each member voted for. On one hand, saying the message, we're not getting enough people to vote in the public. I would agree that's been happening, but you can't make people vote. I think they voted us into office, and they voted us and trusted us with the decision making to do this job. And I feel as though up until the referendum, I felt as though we had a good process in place with a lot of opportunity. There was a lot of, and so we got people to come out and vote. We got people that were motivated by half-truths and rumors, and we get a volatile, emotional voter not thinking rationally. This was a travesty. I heard from a long-term employee, volunteer that's worked in the town for over 50 years. He said it was the worst meeting he's ever been to. And he just encouraged me to patiently say what I have to say. And so I was disappointed to hear that. We've lost trust in the town. We've invited Washington politics right here, and it's very disappointing. I thought the leader of the budget opposition was mistreating and mansplaining our talented employees and volunteers by his methods of inquiry. I will say it was somewhat addressed last night, but I hope that it would not happen again. I did not hear an apology, and also a totally inappropriate accusation of our chairperson of backdoor negotiations and underhanded methods. I thought it was totally inappropriate. We cannot create, and make no mistake about it, this was contrived, this raging storm, and expect us not to get wet. We all do our fair we all have to do our fair share and take our 60% of pain. Now we open the door to more of the same tactics going forward. I just feel like, so this year I got them to do this. Next year I'll try it again. I was happy with the budget. I think this exercise was put a lot of our staff on edge and wondering if they're in the right place. There are no winners. We have all lost.
Thank you. Carrie?
Can you come back to me, Jen, please?
Sure. Jen?
Okay. So one of the things that I've always enjoyed about this board is the bipartisanship and the fact that we can all agree to disagree at times, but we always have the best interest of the students, the faculty, the staff, and the parents at heart. And I think that somewhere along the line that went awry. I disagree with my fellow Democrats and was a little upset with the campaign that they ensued. We spent many, many hours as a board deliberating, and I think everybody knows how hard we worked and how meticulously we went through every line item. And we unanimously voted on a budget that we thought that we were putting forth the best possible budget. That being said, when the Democrats on this board, myself excluded, took such strong opposition, I was very conflicted. I can understand disagreeing with parts of the budget, but when you campaign a no vote, it includes the Board of Ed. I think we lost sight of the students, the faculty, the staff, and the parents. I did hear a lot of mumblings in regards to teachers that were fearful after the budget was voted down. There was a lot of mumblings, and nobody should work in an environment like that, especially those that are working with our children. I'd like to know where the budget can be cut in your eyes. Although I feel like there were a lot of outside forces that were mentioned, and I saw a lot of things on social media today. So I'm concerned that me asking, again, my fellow Democrats on this board, where they would like to cut the budget from, I feel like it's coming from other people. I don't feel like it's coming from you guys, who really have a wherewithal and a knowing of what we went through. So that is very disappointing to me. As far as last night goes, I'm almost at my 3 minutes, so I don't want to go over. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Angie?
So I've only been on the board a couple years, and always been thankful to be on the board and learn more about the public school system. I know it includes many wonderful adults who care for our children 7+ hours a day, and in any capacity there's someone around our child to help them learn, laugh, and enjoy their school hours. It's been enjoyable to work with the fellow residents to keep the school running efficiently. I've seen Brian and now Alicia, work with so many numbers that I could not. We have carefully selected excellent professionals to give us a trusted opinion on how to keep things smooth. We know it's not always like that. There's very many complex, variable things that happen throughout the school year. We have started this budget conversation in January, and questions, as I learned, have had a chance to be asked multiple times. This is a very public process with meetings, many of them. We want the constituents to come vote and make their voice heard, but the truth needs to be said so that they can make an informed vote. As a board, I feel like we need to have, and I thought we had, a unified message to the public.
Thank you. Marcia?
Yes. Well, it has been a very emotional couple days, and I'm highly disappointed. This is not the Ellington that we know. Ellington people work together cohesively, and it was a very unfortunate situation last night. As Miriam said, we need to practice what we preach, our seeds of civility, and work together for an equitable solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary?
I don't want to be labeled with a group of other people, either Democrats or what have you. Okay, I vote on what I feel is right, and I did vote for this budget. I've 31 years, I don't think I've ever voted against a budget that I felt, we put input into, and it's, and our budget is very transparent to everybody, what we do, our inputs and everything. So I don't think there was any problems with our budget as far as the Board of Ed. have heard problems in other parts of the other boards and how they were conducting their budgets, and sometimes not listened to. So I understand what happened there. But I'm happy about this board where we are working together and for the common good of our students and teachers. Okay?
Thank you. Carrie?
Gary, thank you for your frankness and your integrity in saying what you said. So what I heard last night was that Logan Johnson wants the Board of Education to cut its budget. He has made bold-faced statements that we, our Board of Education, have not done our due diligence and have lacked transparency. Logan Johnson last night proposed to cut our minority teacher program. That began an Ellington initiative creating opportunity and diversity. That was a program that we initiated. This is a cost-effective program at $50,000 per year that is not only important, but is a good return on our investment, and that this board has always been proud to sponsor. He proposed to cut special education. We have an increase in the number of children with autism, and in order to keep our Ellington children in their community, we are required, mandated, to hire additional behavior specialists called BCBAs. This is an unfunded mandate. If we do not hire the additional help, our children will have to be outplaced. Outplacing means long bus rides where they will not be able to go to school with their friends in their community. Outplacing is a much bigger price tag and will ultimately cost the taxpayers more money. Logan Johnson proposed to question our choice program. Anyone not familiar with our choice program, that is where students residing in Hartford have the choice to attend Ellington schools. For his information, this is a mandated program to better ensure equal education. It is actually a source of revenue for our town. It's another program that helps create diversity and opportunity for Ellington. Yet, he questions. He questioned and proposed to cut our Eclipse program. That is an unfunded mandate program that affords children with disabilities to remain in school up to age 22. He then proposed to cut the expulsion program. This is a program that supports students who are at a high risk of dropping out of school. Without this program, many students would not graduate from Ellington High School. Logan Johnson is proposing budget cuts to this Board of Education that is targeted, biased, and serves only to hurt children. If there is any fluff or wasteful spending in our Board of Education budgeting, why is it that Mr. Johnson is looking to defund programs that deliver education? Franklin D. Roosevelt said, "The school is the last expenditure upon which America should be willing to economize." That is what we here at Ellington should continue to do, deliver the best education we can. And the fact of the matter is, and everyone knows, that costs have gone up, and we're just trying to deliver the same programming, the same education, the best education that we can.
Thank you. Now that everyone has had an opportunity to talk about last night, I would like to move forward as a united unit and look at what's been proposed by our superintendent for what needs to happen next. We stand with the community. This is not just the Board of Ed versus the town of Ellington. That is not acceptable to us. We are one. and we will work together with them, and we will find as much as we can to give back as much as we can. So we will offer opportunities for different types of cuts, and then as the protocol goes, we will allow the Board of Finance, and thank you, Chair Doug, for joining us this evening. We will allow the Board of Finance to deliberate and determine what they see fit. As it is the Board of Finance's job to take that 30,000-foot view, right? That they shouldn't be down in the weeds, just like we shouldn't be down in the weeds on the Board of Ed side. So we appreciate the challenges that they face in deliberating and determining where the cuts will come from, and we guarantee we'll do our best to serve the community and the taxpayers with as little as we can to come out of services for children. So with that, Dr. Nickel, I will turn it over to you to review the memo that you put forth.
Thank you. And this is a great Board of Education. You spend enough time together. You work on a lot of very difficult things. And sometimes it goes awry. And but I know you're all good people. I know you all care about what you do. And I know that's the case with many people on the town side and the general public, no question about it. It's why Ellington's just a great place. It's why I'm here and really enjoy the work and contributing. So I appreciate being a part of all of this. I do, and there's a positive path forward. I want to mention the yeoman's work and courage and just amazing work of Stephanie and Alicia of our business office. They've been grinding it out, and they're doing a great job, especially it being Alicia's first year in this really, really hard position. This is not the budget cycle that she thought she was signing up for when she came here. So she's done a really, really great job. So
The dynamic duo is
yeah,
what
right,
she'll forever be known.
It was good.
Right?
It was good. And I can say that we're having a great time working hand in hand with Matt Reed in his first year as town administrator, and Tiffany and Felicia in the business office over the town. The four ladies are they're cranking it. So we're in good hands. We're in good hands in that regard. So we wanted to give a memo, and just to let you know what we've been doing is this memo went out at 5:30 to the entire Ellington community. We also emailed it out to the distribution list that we have for the town side. We just want people to have the information. So if you're home and you're watching this, check your email. It's there. If you don't get that email, you can actually go to our website in the budget information section. It's on there right now, and you can get this handout and you can take a look at it. I wanted to start out with just some new information that recently happened in May. The town's going to have to deal with that a little bit, but it's identified here, the Eversource increase. So you saw we got a communication in May that there's going to be a 57% increase to the rates with the delivery portion of our bill. They state this rate adjustment primarily consists of pass-through costs of state-mandated and approved energy programs, policies, and initiatives. This hits us for $70K, so we're $70K in the law side right now based on this. So part of the recommendations I'm making here is to make up some of that money. One of the hallmarks of this budget, this is one of the better line item budget deliberations that this Board of Education has ever had, in that we worked our butts off to only have a $60,000 net increase, but we right-sized all these accounts to have a more truer budget. When you right-size the accounts and you have a more truer budget, it allows for more stability moving forward for future budgets, so it's very exciting. So we listened to the Board of Finance, and they said at least 75. So I started with 75, and we went to that. And the goal here was to not hit program services or teachers, and that's 75. So if you take a look, what's been proposed, the choice account is tricky because you can't put too much in it, but we're teetering. We're close to overspending that account now. So you got a shift of a paraeducator salary out of the operating budget to the choice. So we're moving it out. We went back and looked at the magnet school tuition. We looked at a 7-year look back. And then we looked at the invoices and what we project for the invoices. And then we did the reduction. So instead of the 33, we got 51. So that's good. That's an easy cut. There's nothing to worry about there. Now remember that, and I checked it last night, that is only right now guaranteed 1 year, 58%. Could be the following year 0 or 58, but it could go back up to 100%. We don't know yet, but we'll find out next May, right? We also we took some of the magnet tuition that is in the operating budget, and we said, okay, we've got to figure out how to make sure we right-size the electric account. So we moved that into choice. I don't want to do that. That's risk when we're doing this. We're risking a little bit more in the choice account of like overspending that account. But we've got to take some risks with this, right? We have to make some decisions. So I moved that over, and then we upped the electric account, essentially 70,000. So based on these cuts, you got 75,000 reduction, which brings our budget down to 3.62, which is what the Board of Finance asked for us to start with. And we also right-sized the electric account. So we started there. So if you flip over to the backside, you know, I talked with Jen, and we both agreed that it wasn't enough just to do that and then come in here with that. We had to start down the road of if the Board of Finance wants to look at more in the meeting, that's their obligation. We know they've been the town has been put in a really difficult position with being asked to cut 1.1 million. That's really hard, right? And so, not that the 186,000 I'm bringing up here is awesome or anything, but I was very careful because if you look here, there's 2 teachers that if we get to this point and we feel we need, that we can reduce, but these are teachers that aren't currently employed right now. These are unfilled. We had 1 resignation. A teacher moved to Old Saybrook with her family. Miss Willis, she's an English drama teacher. I didn't want to select any teaching positions that people currently were in. I didn't want to do that to the staff. I don't think they deserve that. They're nervous as it is already. And so the unassigned elementary, we know we've done this many times, 9 years. Probably maybe, I think, Gary, maybe 3 or 4 times we've taken that unassigned elementary because in August we find out we've had like a bubble because like there's more kids that move in, and we've used it. Some years we haven't, and some years we haven't budgeted for it. So that would be one that if we cut that, we'd be taking a risk because we could find out in September we're in trouble with class sizes and parents could be upset. But again, this is all risk, right? Like nothing's easy at this point. So those are just some things to be thinking about. And if that ended up happening, that would get the budget down to 3.21%. And it would maintain all of our right-sized accounts, which is really important. Just a couple other things. Carrie, I really appreciate you bringing up the minority teacher recruitment.
I didn't know this was on your thing, Scott. I'm sorry.
Well, that's good. That's good. So
No, you look like you're in sync.
yeah, right. So it's funny because I didn't get to follow back up with you when you called me today. But so we're a leader in this program. We piloted it. We've had some great success with it. We have a couple wonderful teachers that we're so happy that are here. I can tell you the Choice program, this is the program originated for the Choice, and Curtis Porter, who runs that now from CREC, he said to me, we're trying to highlight 4 of the top school districts that run the Choice program and do the teacher. He says, Ellington's one of them. We want to be able to highlight you, so we'll be in touch to do some of that. This is called being a partner with the region. We care about diversity. We care about supporting children that are looking for a different opportunity. And for Carrie, for you to highlight that, it's great. So I wanted to put this in, and Chair Zen said this is important to put it in here because this is principled work. And so we want to make sure that that remains, even though it was questioned. The other thing is, you can't underestimate, it sounds silly, but I know some people are tuning in for the first time, listening to a lot of this that haven't normally listened to the budget process. So if you're at home and you're watching, Christy Laporte, Melissa Haberin, and Sarah Spack, it's a dream team. You couldn't write up a better three for an administrator for special education. The work that they have done well over a decade to provide great service for kids at a massively cost-effective way that has saved the tax dollars for the residents of this town, millions and millions of dollars. It's not my doing, folks. This is that trio there that has really done a great job. And so I want to point out something, because we got some ARPA money. We got some federal funds. And we got this money. We said, well, what are we going to do with it? And it could have been very easy for us to hire like 3 tutors or support teachers or whatever and put that money in there.
It wasn't, and it wasn't millions, Scott, right? Like was it like 400,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a smaller number. Right, it wasn't millions. So, and we could have easily put that into positions and tried to help kids that were having learning loss. Although we did pretty well because we were in that whole year, right? We were a whole in. We didn't have the learning loss like the state. We actually grew. So we said, we're not going to create a fiscal cliff. Let's be smart about this. So we took the money and we identified the places on West Street, and we invested in it, brought them up to educational specifications. So we invested, and now we're getting a return on that investment, and it's one-time costs. So we don't have a fiscal cliff with that. And right now we have a fantastic program for kids that is almost fully self-sustaining. And we know Jen Mullen is our liaison for that. And it's really a model for the Hartford region, quite frankly.
It really is incredible.
It really is. So, we want to mention these things because these are super important programming things that are attached to budgets and are just really something special. And so we wanted to highlight that. And so, these recommendations are for you to consider and to ask questions. We certainly have Alicia and Stephanie here to answer some more specific questions if you wish. But I know you've all gone through these line items quite extensively. So whatever is your pleasure, we will support, and then we will be there on Monday evening in good spirits. And we really hope that we know it's going to be a hard meeting, but we really hope it's a much more smoother meeting where people can really move together as a community, because that's why we love Ellington.
Thank you for that summary. So looking at what Scott has proposed, does anyone have any questions on the information? Does anyone have any additions or subtractions from the information he's provided, or additional suggestions?
I have a question as far as the choice program, Scott. If we were to increase our enrollment in that, what would the net, I know it obviously costs money and we're not guaranteed it, is that, I know we've tried it, I'm just trying to throw it out there again because maybe it's something to relook at again.
But we haven't filled the numbers of the spots that we've put out there.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have put more spots out than have been filled, Jen, so I think we're doing that to try to get the maximum
return
per student on
No,
that.
that's,
I will
know
say,
we've tried everything.
yeah, Jen, we're still working at it, and Oliver Barton, our assistant superintendent, has a great passion for this, and so he's been looking at some different strategies, and he's been hitting the pavement to try to figure out ways to attract more Hartford families that want to come and fill those seats. You noticed that we did one of our Education Ellington videos was promoting those 2 different Hartford programs that were so much fun. Kids had a blast, right? And Miriam went to one of those. And so I know that Oliver has his eye on trying to get to that number. If everything broke right and we didn't have a lot of kids leave, we might clip the 4%. We might.
Okay.
If we clip the 4%, instead of 8,000 per kid, it would be 10,000 per kid, and it would be a good amount of money, which would be great. And then we would have to be very judicious and smart about how we kind of budgeted for that and used it. And be careful that if we're right on the 4%,
We
and then
don't
you
lose a
over,
kid, yeah.
and then you over budget, you have one kid go
Yeah.
below, it's one kid,
One kid.
they take the whole thing away.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. So we'll keep you apprised of that. I know Oliver's working on some possible stipends. He wants to give some stipends to teachers that want to be like open choice liaisons to like up our connections with the community. So we're looking into that, and we'll be able to report on it when we get a little farther down the road.
And I do think it's important to note too that this is from pre-K all the way through grade 12. I know that there's a lot of folks that are tuning in now that really that are not educated on the choice program. So I want to make sure that, you know, bringing in or upping that number is not going to sway our class size one way or another. It's from pre-K all the way through grade 12. So I want that. I think there's a lot of education that folks really need to understand as far as what the board does and looks at and everything else like that. And I think that is an opportunity for me as communications chair to really get that message out. And so there's been a lot of self-reflection in this as well, in this whole process for me, because I think that the folks of Ellington deserve to be educated on what we do. I know our meetings are out there and everything else, but again, as communications chair, there's probably something more that I can do.
Actually, kind of on that point, I've spoken to numerous parents between last night and today, and something that I heard loud and clear was that some parents feel intimidated to come to one of these meetings and try and stand up at a podium in front of people, and that really resonated with me. I could see that that would be an issue, so perhaps we work on some type of a forum where people can put parents or even, you know, residents can put questions in like a queue 24 hours in advance of a meeting, something so that their questions can be answered and we can have more discourse and discussion. I think that's a valid point.
I like that.
I think it's a great idea, and I think we'll come up with something and propose it to you all, and we can work with Jen in the communications and see if we can get some more input from parents and residents so we can answer the questions in advance so they don't have to come to the meeting.
Great.
Yeah,
Mary Ann?
awesome.
Well, I'd like to say again what I said at the end of yesterday's meeting, that I think it's important. One of the big issues was a lack of communication. We talk about the small number of people who come out to vote in past elections as far as our referendums, and I think that communication is one of the keys, and I said that last night, and I hope that we will work together with Matt and the town to, that's one of the positive things I think can come out of this. I think lots of people came out to vote because they didn't know that what the increase was. And I'd like to believe that we have an opportunity to inform them and educate them, and that things will be better next year when we are going to have another large increase because we're taking on the debt. And so I'd like to urge us to continue to work, not only in this board, but with the town to publicize and to educate our townspeople. I think that's important.
Miriam, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You honestly believe that the people that came in such large numbers to vote no didn't do it because they thought that there was people giving them information, that there was some shenanigans going on, that there was buckets of money laying?
No, I
you know,
think they voted their pocketbooks that they said, I can't afford. And myself personally, Steve, I think people retired like me, I am able to take the increase, but there are others who could not. Young people who have taken on a home, I think it would be important. I did not want them, personally, I did not want them to have a budget increase of $1,000 on July 1. Anyone I spoke to, I said, are you aware of what this is? You need to figure out whether you can afford this, and you need to know what the increase is, you need to know how to figure it out, and you need to decide if you can afford this yourself. And I got from many people, no, I did not know that that's how much it would be. Not that there were buckets of money and that it was misleading. I think at some point we would have come to this, if not this year, maybe next year. At some point we would have come to this, and we would have had to deal with the communication issue.
Lenora, you had your hand raised.
Yes. As I had mentioned before, that this is my first experience on the board and first experience working on a budget of this nature. I think perhaps I was somewhat naive in thinking that a reduction in the overall town budget would leave the Board of Education unscathed. For the most part, I was happy with the budget for the Board of Education, and it being my first foray into this process, I was pleased with the process. You know, in terms of where reductions should come from, my intent with that was that reductions would come somewhere other than the Board of Education. Am I naive? I think so, maybe.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Lenora. I really do. Because I was worried that, there were people on the board that felt there was a lack of transparency, or that we weren't diligent in putting forth this budget, or that we didn't look at everything to try to make sure it was as fiscally conservative as we could be and still deliver the same great programming. So that really means a lot.
I did feel like that last night. I felt like the Board of Ed was put under a microscope and that we didn't do our homework. And
Well, that's what was said.
Doug, you're here now. I'd like to collaborate next year. I'd like to have the Board of Finance in some of our budget deliberations and have members represented
they
and be a
were.
part.
They were.
They
were
were.
here. They were here.
They were here.
We did, we had them.
We do that every year. No, but you sent it, yeah, you were there, we had representatives from the Board of Finance at our meetings.
And Board of Selectmen.
And Dan
Yeah.
Cohen was the Board of Finance liaison, and he came to different meetings.
Yes,
So
he
he was informed. Yep.
Maybe communicate what you learned at that better. I mean, we're all taking in, and again, it's all a lessons learned thing. That's how I'm looking at this, is we can do better as boards, we can communicate better, we can do and that's kind of what I think we need to realize is, as much as I felt like the Board of Ed was targeted last night, I think that, Matt, you've got your work cut out for you. I'm sorry. I feel like everyone does. And I have a new appreciation for everybody doing their due diligence. But again, I think everyone needs to understand that it's kind of, we all need to work together better. All the boards.
Looking for a motion, Jen?
So,
Sorry.
saying that, I haven't heard it, does anybody have any additions or subtractions or changes to what Dr. Nickel is proposing? Yes, go ahead, Lenora.
I am certainly concerned about elimination of the high school English or drama teacher. I am an avid advocate of the arts, and I just think that would be absolutely unacceptable. Same would be true for the unassigned elementary teacher. I think that's a deal breaker.
So I guess with that being said, partnering with the town, we need to figure out places to cut.
Where do you want the almost $200,000 worth of money to get cut from if we don't do it with unassigned? I think the reason why Dr. Nichol was looking at those two positions was because it wasn't going to affect anyone currently employed. I was on the board when this high school drama teacher was approved, and I was a huge proponent of having that teacher approved. I'm sad to see it go, but I have to trust that, I don't want another teacher to lose their job to keep this position open. So I kind of agree with Scott's thought process in that if the position doesn't have somebody filled in it, then that's probably the best position to look at this time, because it doesn't hurt somebody's family. So if we don't do the money there, then where?
Right.
'Cause that's
It's
a lot
little
of
more
money.
than naive to think that we can reduce our budget and not touch personnel, salaries, and benefits. That is where most of our money goes. And unless you want to even speak about cutting teachers who are actually employed here, this is the only option.
I think my concern is not in regards to the English and drama teacher, because it is not a filled position. I also understand that the elementary teacher is not a filled position. I'm concerned about that with the kindergarten age moving up and the class sizes getting larger and stuff like that. So I would be okay with this year, but full transparency, we're gonna have to add it back next year.
This is only for this year, Jen.
I'm
And
aware
we're
of
in this
that, but it's-
situation.
I think she's just talking about down
I'm
the
just,
road.
I'm just saying, down the road, and I'm looking at Doug, because it's gonna come next year. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about next year today.
We just gotta
'cause
get through
we also
this
have to
year.
build a school. There's a
No,
lot
I-
of things coming down.
And I
that
think there's a lot.
Could impact
Right.
this particular activity here,
And I think the other thing that
disappointing as it is.
we need to keep in mind is that they're still looking for $1 million from the town. So, we look at $261,868 in cuts. Comparatively, it's a bit of a drop in the bucket. Now, when I look what we're eliminating, or what we're talking about eliminating, yes, there's not a teacher assigned to that, but, when Scott sent this out and I saw it, I looked at that unassigned elementary teacher, and, that's a gamble for us.
I don't like that risk.
I don't like that risk either, but this is where we are. This is where we are.
Yep.
So we're not pointing fingers anymore. We're not, this is where we are at.
I
So,
think we've spoken, though, that class size in the elementary school is where the research shows that matters.
yes.
And now, the one
Understood.
place we're picking to start messing with it is
I know, but
Elementary.
Enfield just cut 127, 137?
of real positions.
127 of real positions and athletics.
And just,
I'm not
what-
trying to bring that,
No,
I know
no,
that's
but
not
what-
our town, but
no, but what I
these are
think,
real
what I think is interesting is
times.
we have, because you can tuition into the school district. We have a couple people that have already reached out that live in Enfield that are so upset that have a couple kids in the schools, and they want to tuition and they want to come to Ellington. And so I'm setting up meetings with them, because if they want to come and they want to pay, $8,000 a year, and we have the room, depending on how old their kids are, then that is something that we would entertain for anyone.
Absolutely.
I do think, I think it's really appropriate that Chair Zen, we keep thinking about the town and the position they're in, because it's not easy when you're sitting there thinking about $1 million. And I know that one of the things that, especially Brian Greenleaf, our former Director of Finance and Operations with Tiffany, they had worked really hard on mill rate stabilization and really the health of the reserves, and moving, getting the higher rating in the bonding. And, you know, so they're faced with a very difficult challenge because, you know, there's a lot of information out there on social media that just simply says, oh, you know, you can just cut $700,000 or $600,000 from the general fund, and that will decimate the financial health of the school, of the town. And so they're in a tough spot where they don't want to do that. I know that Tiffany does not. She's been very public about not wanting to recommend that. So then what does that, so they're in a tough spot because what does that leave? They have to look at trash. They have to look at all the services that are the big monies. But they know that the residents would not like that. So they're getting put into a corner. And it's a very challenging spot. And I just think what our responsibility is, superintendent and Board of Education members, that is to kind of just raise awareness of the dynamics of what is challenging, right? And so, you know, if the taxpayers want less taxes, which everyone does, and that's really important to them, part of the decision-making process for the town is to say, you're gonna have some less services. And that's not exciting and no one wants that. But you have to choose one or the other. And so, you know, I think it's important that we just keep illuminating the challenge that the Board of Finance is and the town finance folks and Matt Reed and everyone. And so we'll see, but that's an important aspect of this dynamic.
Jen, I'd like to make a motion unless there's more discussion.
Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to make, it is with a heavy heart and it's unfortunate, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the new proposed 2025 budget, and we reduce our budget by $186,868.
261,868. You
Where's
combine
that?
them both.
Huh?
Wait a minute, back up.
Wait.
So just
Where's the number?
pause for clarification.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading your numbers here.
Just 75.
So the question, Carrie, if you're looking at it, is there's the first section, which is the 75K. And that's a no-brainer, right? And then there's the second section that you can decide on.
Which
Do you
is the
want to add? Do you want to
186,000,
add
yes.
186,868, or add 16,868, or whatever
I'm sorry.
on top of the 75? So
I thought that
I
was
think
the
that's the
total.
discussion you have to have.
I'm sorry, I thought that
Can
was
we
the-
approve
Yes.
one at a time?
I just
You could
propose just the first one and see how it goes.
So, yeah.
So, for
So-
clarifications to the new, we're going to do them two separate motions. The new proposed budget cut of the 75,000 for the 2025 budget.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Young. Any further discussion?
Just for clarification, I want to make sure that we're talking about what is on the bottom of the
Page one.
first page.
That's correct.
Proposal for upcoming June.
That's correct.
24,000. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And a further clarification, it does include this shift of the magnet tuition and an increase in the electric. Are we approving that at this time, too?
Yes, that would be part of that.
Yeah.
Dr.
All
Young,
right,
could
so
you move
that's-
your mic closer just so the people at home can hear?
Just clarification that as shown on this budget sheet, that would include a shift of 70,000 to right-size the electric operating budget,
Yes, okay, thank you.
which is a wash with regard to savings, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So that was seconded by Dr. Young. Any further discussion? All in favor signify
I'd
by...
like to call for a voice vote, as Steve suggested.
Yes, we will do a roll call. Yes, that's fine. A roll call vote. Dr. Young?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Lenora?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
Angie?
Aye.
Marcia?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimously voted through for the $75,000.
I will go ahead and make a motion for the second part.
Could we have some discussion
Yeah,
before?
More discussion.
can you clarify, do we need to do that? Can we just stop at this point?
So
They've asked
there's,
for-
yeah, there hasn't been any motion or mandate from the Board of Finance
For any fixed amount?
for any fixed amount. There was an informal discussion on the 75,000, and so we definitely did that. So this is not something that you have to do right now.
Right, I would keep it in our pocket.
Well, here's the problem
Not in
that,
our pocket anymore.
can I, if I can, I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that every time we go to referendum, it costs the town thousands of dollars.
Well,
So I
we'll
don't
have
want
time
to,
after Monday, right, Karen?
I don't, what?
We'll have time after Monday.
Well,
No, we won't,
So
because it goes to
Finance
the,
could come back to us.
right, so that's, no, so
No.
what is most likely going to happen almost assuredly going to happen, is they're going to deliberate forever how long it takes. They're gonna make whatever cut they decide to make. They're gonna set the budget and send it off to referendum because it has to get posted by the Wednesday per the charter, and then the vote is on June 11th. So the reason why we had this meeting now is because this is it for us right now, and whatever we do on Saturday or Sunday, I want to send out a communication to say, hey, here's what they did, the board did officially, and now here's what's going to be discussed there. Now, they could,
reject it.
well, they could simply say, we appreciate the 75,000, we're going to approve X amount of cuts of whatever, and we're also telling the Board of Ed, you do whatever you need to do, but we're taking another X amount of dollars from you.
Right.
And that would just go out, we would have to go do that on our own. They're allowed to do
So,
that.
If they came back with anything more than the 186,000, we'd have no plan, but we have this plan.
Right, so I've been looking at that, and it's not what I wanted to put out right now on paper and get into, because I think it's not really palatable for a lot of people, a lot of parents and a lot of teachers.
And I do want it crystal clear as well, that our plan B, should they come back to us, includes teachers.
Right.
I want
includes-
that out there 100%.
And Plan C
Is
would
going to be more.
Definitely include
More,
Right, but-
salaries and benefits. It won't
Correct.
necessarily be teachers.
right.
I mean, there are
That's when
paras,
we
there
have
are
to go.
administrators, there's ways to go,
Yep,
but salary and benefits is, I don't think,
Do the
Yeah.
off
residents,
the table at all.
do the residents understand the cost to going to referendum? I haven't gotten those exact dollars. I've heard everything from 8,000 to 20,000. I don't know what the number is, and I'm guessing.
I think
but
it's more
it
like
depends
8. It's
on-
How
more
much
like
is it?
8,
It's 8,000?
7 to 8.
So we've already spent 8,000 getting a no vote,
Yep.
and now we need to go to another referendum. That's going to be $16,000. We have to put our best foot forward, and listen to what the vote has been. And unfortunately, this right now is still in our control, and we have to put our best foot forward.
Are you speaking to the possibility of including this 186 now?
I think if we don't include the 186, it's disingenuous to the town and not to say this. They understand we're putting it out there and letting them know what exactly the cut is going to be, instead of them coming back and giving us some number and then we decide the cut. At least they're making a decision knowing the complete impact to the Board of Education. They can decide not to cut as much as we've offered. They don't have to take the whole cut. They could say, oh yeah, I've listened to the commentary and I'm concerned about elementary teacher, or I'm concerned about cutting the drama teacher. But I think we should, it's a big number, and we can't just throw some dimes at the Board of Finance and think that we can go unscathed when we're 68% of this budget. So
Yeah.
I do not want to do this. I just think we have no choice in terms of trying to remain fiscally conservative. I don't want to keep wasting. To me, it's a waste of money to keep going to referendum and spending $8,000. So I want to get this
Is there any way to
passed.
communicate in our motion then, that we could feather this in? I mean, my last option would be the unassigned elementary. teacher.
Agreed.
But it seems like it's like two bins, the 75 and then the 186 as a.
I agree, but I think we could put it in with, if they're looking to take the 186 or break it up, if they broke it up, here's what we would request be our
First, second,
take
third.
first, second, and third.
It seems like a complicated
Right,
motion
and
at
we
this point.
right, we also want to be careful that, I know the Board of Finance was talking a lot about line items,
Yeah.
and
It's
we-
not right, it's not.
right,
in
we
their
weren't
program.
going to shut them down because that would have seemed weird to the public. They don't understand those rules. So the Board of Finance doesn't need to be looking at the priority. You know, I think you could
Agreed.
write a motion where you could say that, you know, the Board of Education, you know, recommends to the Board of Finance, you know, that the possibility of $186,000 worth of cuts, and for the total number to be at the discretion of the Board of Finance,
Okay.
based on their deliberations.
And leave out the actual details that you've shared here.
Leave out the details, and then whatever they end up doing, it could be more than 186, it could be less.
Okay, so moved.
And then, once they do that and they finalize it, then we just formalize what we do.
Okay.
So
But
moved.
the problem, the problem I see with that is are they really feeling the pain? We're feeling all the pain here, and we're feeling the pain for these programs. They just see a number, 186. I think
Oh, I
they're
don't
honest
think that,
brokers. They
no.
need to know what these line items are, so that they feel the same pain that we are.
Well,
Oh, I think
Well,
the
they'll
town
get
yeah,
feels the
so
pain.
so Steve, it's a good point. Like, I mean,
Doug's here. He
Doug's
knows.
here, Matt's here, you know, I know Tiffany is and Felicia are very well aware of what we're doing. They all received this. Everyone in the town side got this email, so they have it. So they know exactly
Yeah.
what this is. And I think it's not fun, but Carrie's right in some ways. We don't want to be disingenuous and throw them dimes. Like, we need the support. This isn't still really, really hard for them, even with this.
Yeah, this is not.
This
Yeah,
is not like,
is not
We're
helping
the-
them much.
We're the
Right.
biggest portion of the town's budget,
Right.
and we're not giving a reduction equal to our portion of this budget. So we have to keep that in mind.
right. And
I mean-
the other thing is, they may not, we don't know. They may get feedback, there's the weekends going on, they may not be doing a full million. They may not. I mean, that's the target, that's what they're talking about, that's what they're discussing, that's the hard work. It could be more, it could be less. And so if they decide, okay, we're gonna do less, and this is how we're going to do it, they at least know kind of where we stand, and they can say, okay, we're gonna do X for the Board of Education, and they kind of have a feeling for it.
So the motion could say, we've done the 75, that's a passed motion.
Yes.
Yes.
We could say the second option would be this 186.
In addition to the
On top
75.
of the 75.
Yes.
You know,
In this order.
well, we're not
Well,
gonna, we
I
don't need to
think
say
not-
order.
I don't
'cause-
think
It's
you
not
can
in
do it
order.
that
It's
way.
not in order.
Yeah.
We could just,
If I had my druthers, yes, but
but it's gotta be
it's a-
in addition.
So what
The
you can,
suggestion right now that we're discussing is that it
Is
be a
in addition to.
pool,
Yes.
yes. An additional 187,868.
and you could even say, as communicated by the superintendent
in this
to
memo.
the-
In the
to
memo.
to the Board of Finance, and I can kind of like write a short
Right.
memo so they have it very clear and everyone's
In
clear
his
with
May
it.
31 memo to the board.
Right, and I can add to it, right? So I can do a separate like communication based on what you guys decide.
All right.
I'm
yeah.
gonna fumble this, but I'll do my darndest. Move that the Ellington Board of Education, if needed by the Board of Finance, reduce our budget by another $186,868, or 0.41%, reducing hockey, an unassigned elementary teacher, and a high school English/drama teacher, bringing our budget to 3.21% at a total of $46,528,292.
Second.
Seconded by Mike.
I wanted that.
Any further discussion?
I think it's important that we add that those positions are unfilled at this time.
Which we did.
We
Yeah,
can note it.
we can note
I'll
that.
make
part
sure
of
I
the
write it in
record.
there.
As part of the record.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
So that's a total reduction of, that we've made tonight.
261,868.
868. Yes.
And by the way, if all of that holds, if that's what it ends up being, we're around from the original budget, a subtraction of $450K. So this is almost $500,000 that we've come down through all of this process. And I think that's important to note because $450K is a great deal for the school district to be cutting.
Okay, Jim, can we
Thank
take a vote?
Yeah, I do. I will. Okay, so we're going to do roll call. Dr. Young, you seconded the motion.
Yes, aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Lenora?
Nay.
Nay.
Sorry, Steve. Carrie?
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
Angie?
Aye.
Marcia? Gary?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. I want to thank everyone for their hard work and their diligence here this evening. I believe that that's what we have for this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wow, that was like simultaneous.
Give one the second.
There you go. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.